in. You know how it works. So Hans, do you want to introduce yourself or your friend? Whatever you feel most comfortable doing. Go.
Fantastic. Hans Heckman, excited to be here again. So as you have topics you'd like us to pop in, especially positive ones, we try and keep this upbeat, but we're all problem solvers. So sometimes we dive off the deep end a little bit. Have the honor of also introducing and bringing into the show AJ. I know him from the conference circuit, so give AJ a chance to introduce himself. And, if you want, share a little bit about, because you just had the exciting journey to start a new company.
Thanks, Hans. Yes, actually, I did. I just became an independent consultant. I've been in the Microsoft Dynamics space for the last 8 years or so, and have moved into, I was doing consulting previously for organizations and then worked privately for a minute, and then now decided to do this on my own full time. So it's been an incredible journey so far. I'm definitely glad to be here.
And we also have, as always, the brilliant, the beautiful, the extremely talented Carmi.
You're way too kind to me, Hans. Thank you so much. So I am, what do I do during the week? I am a director of PR at Infotech Research Group, privileged to be a colleague of both Hans and Michael, get to work with them, day after day. So that is indeed my privilege. Outside of Infotech, I've been a journalist and a writer and a technologist for a number of years. And so I kind of, one of the dreams of this job is I get to bring together technology and messaging and communications, help people take advantage of the technology around them, get more out of it, lead better lives. And that ultimately is the mission of who we are at Infotech. So glad to be a part of this, glad that we get to tackle whatever it is that comes up today and answer whatever questions you have, and hopefully end up a little bit more enlightened when we're done than when we started. Thanks for joining.
Okay, do you guys remember the formula where we all introduce and then we all do a question each?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Because right now the brain's a little foggy for me, so I'm wondering if I'm still sleeping. Okay.
It's Sunday morning. You're totally entitled.
All right.
If you are sleeping, then your dreams are coming through in beautiful 4K video and Dolby Atmos audio. So you dream well, sir.
Thank you, sir. And I appreciate everybody being here. So do you want to go next, Hans, and dazzle them with...
I don't know about that, but I'll certainly kick it off. So at least breaking news, I guess, in the States is the new Johnson & Johnson vaccine came out. It seems to be generally it's a one-shot, doesn't require extreme refrigeration, so it's going to be far more portable and easy to bring to outlying areas, other countries that may not have the deep freezers. Not worrying about the vaccine itself, this means we've got yet another option to help us kind of get back to business as normal. So just to start it off, before too long, when we've hit the point where we've got enough people vaccinated and COVID is manageable, where are you going first? What's the first thing you want to do when all of the restrictions are lifted and we can go out and about freely?
Are you worried at all about the variants that may come our way? Like, has that? I know it's supposed to be light, but that has been on my mind.
Yes, but there's nothing so my take on that is the world is filled with stuff that can hurt us, harm us, or utterly wipe us out. From super volcanoes to bad flu variants to the COVID. Luckily, we are now developing with the vaccine and exposure more resilience to coronaviruses. So the good thing is we should be able to keep them manageable in the future, but this is probably just like the flu going to be with us for a very long time, if not forever. And we just have to hope if there's a bad strain, a deadly strain like SARS, even MERS was a little more deadly, we'll just have to try and contain those, develop a new tweaked vaccine like they do for the flu every year. And, it's just going to be kind of, we've been living with HIV and AIDS. We're now battling Ebola and holding it at bay. I think it's just going to be one of those things that we live with, kind of like death, taxes, and coronaviruses.
Okay, I want to. This all links, and I'm not trying to hog the questions here. But technically, it's my show. I guess I could do that, couldn't I? All right. So,
Totally. All yours.
yeah, here's the
Insert
thing.
evil laugh.
Well, I feel most comfortable with you guys, to be honest with you. So I want to address some of these questions, and I really value your opinions, and I think it's good content. But I've been reading a lot lately that Zoom fatigue is real.
Yes.
So I want everyone in here to kind of address it. And if you feel like it isn't, and it's the greatest thing that's ever happened to you, then tell me so. And
Well, I would.
I do like how.
Go ahead. Go ahead, AJ.
I was gonna say I do like how you announced Zoom fatigue is real on your streaming web show. That's fantastic.
Yes,
So no, I do think. Yeah, I do think that it is real. It's something that. So I've been doing web conferences and web working, remotely virtual conferences for years. So I was working from home previously for the last 7 years, and it does wear on you. I think it wears on you differently than it does if you are talking to someone face to face. So there were times where my wife would come home and I felt like I was a golden retriever, right? So I was just like, "Hi, how are you? Who do you talk to today?" Because I was only in virtual meetings. And so I have found that I've taken some things that I've done socially outside of that and just don't have the energy for Zoom. I don't have to, or for any sort of remote connection afterwards.
I think we're lucky. I don't want to use the word lucky in relation to the pandemic, but or seem that I'm using it in a flip manner, but we're lucky that the pandemic happened now as opposed to 10, 15, 20 years ago before these technologies were available. We're lucky in the sense that they allow us to connect to a certain degree in a richer manner than would otherwise be the case. Imagine if we had to manage remote work without these tools. So, in that sense, Zoom equals good. Teams is good. But at the same time, I think we have to recognize that in the absence of anything else, in other words, when this becomes your sole window of looking out at the world, there are going to be impacts, and we have to be aware of them, and we have to understand the effect on our mental health of literally sitting at a screen all day long, and that's how we view all of our colleagues and our stakeholders. And I think we have to, work a little bit harder to be balanced outside of that realm. In other words, when my wife's a teacher, so when she does come home from school, that I interact with her in a more deliberate manner than I would have otherwise. That I don't take for granted the fact that I do have the opportunity for one-on-one interaction, not through a screen. And so, on the one hand, we're blessed; we have incredible technologies. But on the other hand, if we over rely on them to the exclusion of all else, and we don't keep our mental health as visible as we should, we are going to head toward or off a cliff. And I think now that we are here, a year into this pandemic, those impacts are starting to become very real. And sometimes they manifest themselves in obvious ways, and other times they don't. And it's up to us to keep our eyes open for those impacts, not only on ourselves, but on those around us, and to leave some room for interaction that may not necessarily deal directly with the meeting that you're holding now, but has everything to do with the quality of life of the people who are in that meeting. And so eyes open, minds open. Zoom isn't ideal, but it's what we've got. And we've got to shift gears a little bit now that we're a year into this thing.
Okay. I want to go slightly different direction, kind of in the same theme. So I want to talk about the kids that are being affected, that their childhoods are being affected, things like, having a crush on a girl and being in the same classroom, and, things like, having conflict and, at recess in the playground, and things just like not really wanting to go to school because you have to go to school. Now it's gone, I think, where they're begging to have the interaction, and it's not healthy to be on video games all day. That's my spin on. Who wants to go first? Okay, dead air is not
I'll
good.
take it. I'll take it. Yeah, why not? So uh, I think it's also there's a positive side to this as well. So, you know, yes, it does impact their, growth and development, etc. However, you also see the parents now having a lot more time with their children. I've heard so many of my friends say that, I got to know my kids during this whole epidemic. So it's been a one-on-one, you have a different family drive into those scenarios. So yes, it sucks, frankly, for people that are graduating and people that are have big moments that they can't share that you would normally have, like you know the big kind of transitional moments from school to school, prom, etc. And even for younger children, being able to socialize with and learn that social dynamic. But now you get to learn that from adults, and it kind of changes that perspective.
Okay.
So, Carmi, we both have spouses that work for the school system. What have you seen? Where are the stress points that you've seen?
Well, the stress, my wife teaches grade 1 and grade 2, so 6, 7-year-old kids, and she has taught in both modes. So when the pandemic first hit, everything was switched to remote, Zoom school all day, every day. Then they went back, then they were in class, then they were out of class, now they're back in class. So she's been shifting gears for the last year, and she's been able to experience it from both sides of the ledger. And the problem with Zoom is very real, especially in the age group that she teaches, is that kids just aren't, as much time as they spend on screen every day on their own, even before this pandemic was a thing. Sitting in front of a webcam for hours on end as part of a class is a very different mode of using this technology than simply playing a video game. You are on, you are performing. You're not simply playing a game. And so, I think we're learning a lot about the limitations of this technology as a course delivery methodology for various age groups. And I think that's a good thing. And, to AJ's point, there are blessings in all of this. There are benefits that we have to open our eyes to. And that, so for example, my wife, when she was teaching online all day, it was problematic that for a 6-year-old to sit in front of a webcam and maintain rapt attention. It's hard enough in class. It's even harder outside of class, harder for her to engage. But at the same time, parents were also there and could participate in ways that they wouldn't otherwise be able to participate in a traditional in-class setting. And so there are advantages and disadvantages to everything. And I think we owe it to ourselves to sort of step back and, rather than looking at all of this as a negative, really ask ourselves, where do those advantages lie and how do I take advantage of them? And so if you're a teacher, if you're a student, I think it's the same equation. Look for those opportunities and make sure that you're grabbing onto them, and also that you're messaging around them, that you're recognizing them. So, for example, if you're a teacher, you're sharing that perspective with your kids. If you're a child, or if you're a parent of a child who is, say, learning remotely, that you look for those opportunities too. Otherwise, we're going to see this uniquely as a dark period in history, and that's not necessarily the case if we choose to use the right lens.
Okay, are we going to head into Hans here? Do you have some tasty morsels for this part?
Just a quick add-on, and then we'll jump to the next topic.
Okay.
The younger kids with special needs definitely are the most impacted, as Carmi said, that it's been the hardest for them to adjust. Older ages, they seem to be doing all right. The bigger problem, and this is the same reason we have Zoom fatigue, it takes more deliberate action to get work done when you're 100% remote and conferencing. So the teachers have great materials that have been developed for in-person learning. We don't have the online games, the tools. Those take a lot more setup. So imagine going into work one day and you have to rebuild all of your tools, all of the way you have meetings, everything you do just to get your job done. That's kind of what teachers are now facing. And I think over the next years, we're going to see a lot more online resources like Khan Academy that can have that fun engagement for kids of all ages to help teach these lessons. But it takes a lot more work to gamify learning When I'm building workshops, that takes half of the time I spend in it. And we're going to see a lot more groups putting out content that teachers will be able to use, and hopefully the school systems will be able to pick that up.
Okay, can we go
I
in?
just went.
Yep,
Oh,
go
sorry.
ahead. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Uh,
You're very
I just
polite. I
went
like
to
that.
I just went to a seminar or a summit yesterday, and a virtual summit, and it was this guy in Scotland who did a session on gamification, and this guy talked faster than the Micro Machines guy, but he was absolutely amazing and enthralling. Like, you got more content in 45 minutes than I think that you probably could have if you read the entire book on gamification. But he broke it down into all the different areas. His name's Will Dorrington, and so if you get a chance, like, check out some of his stuff. He has some great content. But the whole point was the psychological aspect of that. So, Hans, I was going to ask you that same question, and Carmi as well, since your wives are in education. We were able on the business side to adapt to this pandemic pretty quickly, I think, and just ramp up and be productive. The education system has gotten a lot of flack here in the US because they don't have, because they've taught the same way of the rote method for so long of sit down, pay attention, do this over and over and over again, repetition, etc. Do you see that being the large shift in education change here because of this? So do you see, like, where we're going to do gamification, we're going to break this down into smaller chunks, we're going to just completely flip this entire education system on its head?
I think this is probably the biggest opportunity in shaking up the educational establishment in generations. And I don't think it's happening at a systemic level. In other words, I don't think school boards have figured this out. I think teachers thrown to the wolves because they had no choice. It's like, one day you're in class, the next day you're being told to just go home and sign into this Zoom thing and get it all done. And, whatever it takes, do it. They weren't given the resources, they weren't given the guidance, they weren't given the coaches and the mentors because none of that existed. And so, teachers rose to the challenge on an individual basis, and they figured it out, and they're still figuring it out. This is going to be a work in progress for a very long time. But what we're seeing is kind of a forced scenario where educators have to, sink or swim. And they're evolving best practice based on that. And the deeper we get into this period in history, the more sharing we see of what we've learned along the way. And so I think, at some point when this pandemic is put behind us and we go back to, regular in-school physical delivery of course content, I think those lessons that we're learning now will be applied there. And that, that traditional rote method of delivery, fill your brain with stuff and then just regurgitate it, and then rinse, repeat. I think we'll finally be able to, if not completely retire it, at least move on to something that's a little bit more representative of how the real world works today. And I think that's a good thing. I think I don't think anybody would have wished sort of how we came about it, but we can't change that. What we can change is the fact that educators had no choice and they had to roll with the punches, and I think they've done a really good job. Just watching, it's been quite the privilege working from home, watching my wife do this from the dining room table, and watch her figure it out. And I think it's made her a better educator no matter how she's delivering. And the more she speaks with her colleagues and works with her principal and her board, the more that expertise that she's figured out along the way gets institutionalized and shared beyond her. So I think we've started a really good thing. It doesn't always look neat and pretty, but I think it's definitely moving in the right direction to finally ditch those rote methodologies that I think we all hated growing up, and quite frankly, I think we've all recognized for decades simply don't work.
Carmi, we're going to go in a little different direction. I'm going to do a slight plug here. So, number one, thank you, HAPS. Thank you for this platform. Thank you for this social experiment, which is what Stacy called it. And I think that's kind of cool. I want us just to, for a moment, talk about our experience so far on HAPS, what we like, what we don't like, and the things we've learned in this experience called HAPS. And this will make the CEO, Mark, very happy with me. So, and I live to make people happy. Who wants to go first?
I went first last time. Not it.
Okay, I feel like we're three. I feel like we're three brothers going. I took the garbage out last time.
So Carmi, as our resident broadcast journalist expert and seeing, from social to other broadcast mediums, what's been your impression so far? Because I know this has been part of your strategy and a potential, here's another tool. How do we harness this potentially for business or personal growth? What's your thoughts or assessment so far?
So for anyone who doesn't know me, it's a great question. And so for anyone who doesn't know me, I'm a journalist by education and background, and I spent most of the last 10, 15 years working in the broadcast space, both television and radio, as well as digital. And one of the sort of the key themes of my career in technology has been technology is too hard. And that applies in media as well as elsewhere. In other words, it's still too big of a deal to broadcast yourself. It's too big of a deal to use this technology. If I wanted to, do a television segment as recently as a few years ago, my only choice, for the most part, was to, get in my car, drive to a TV studio. And so what we're seeing now in a platform like HAPS really is nothing short of the full-on democratization of this space. In other words, instead of having to use a multi-million-dollar studio staffed by specialists who have to schedule me for a specific time, it's my prerogative to leverage this technology from wherever I happen to be with whatever device I happen to have in front of me at that time. As long as I have bandwidth, as long as I have power, I can be broadcasting. And that is unbelievably powerful. The ability to create a shared space and an interactive one. So this goes way beyond traditional television, but or radio. This is incredibly interactive. I can have people speaking with me in the chat as we're live. And so, this is, we're breaking down barriers to participation in this medium. We are opening up doors and that's kind of core to my role, is to look at the core of analysts who work for Infotech and say, how should we be using these technologies to help them connect to the stakeholders that they need to connect to, the people that they need to speak to do their research, the platforms where we want to share their research, the folks in media who are going to be amplifying their message. How do we creatively use all of these tools to give them a bigger megaphone, connect them to the people who will help them do their jobs better and get their research into the right hands? HAPS is a part of that. It's one of those democratizing tools that gives power to those who in the past might not have had that voice. And to me, that's incredibly exciting because I spent most of my career looking for tools like this and figuring out how do we take advantage of that.
Carmi, I'm a feely kind of guy, right?
Yeah.
Like feelings, right? Feelings, nothing more than feelings, So how does it feel, the community here? Because I know how it feels for me. Like, this is like, look at us. We're doing a business show.
Mm-hmm.
We're into 23 minutes. We've had 100 people in. And in a month, this could have 2,000 views. That just doesn't happen on other platforms. And, Hans has become his own star on this platform in his own right. Yeah, and he's very humble, and we won't go there. But Ari as well, and other people are dipping their toe in the pond. And I hope, AJ, you've got a really nice energy. Like, you'll do well here if you. And one thing I know is people. And I know how to build communities, and I know how I can get people to come on shows. I don't know how I do it. I just do it, and shows come about. And even Walt, who's in the room right now, Walt used to be one of these people that he would only ever film. He would never have his face on the camera. And as wonderful as his face is, he didn't do that. And now many, many women all over the world get to enjoy the beauty of Walt each and every day when he comes on my show in the morning. I'm going to do a shameless plug, by the way. So if you want to see me in the mornings and have a spiritual chat and all about feelings, deep feelings, spiritual things, come and see me, or have just fun in the community. 6:30 to 7:30. If I get up, I try my best. Sometimes it's 7, but it's usually about an hour. And I really want to thank Randy W. Horton, who got me on this platform. And everybody that's in this room, I'm telling you, if you continue to do what you're doing on here, you can have a nice little revenue going on in your pocket. And I know all of us enjoy a little jingle in the pockets. Right? No? Okay. I'm only
Absolutely.
I'm only speaking for myself. They're selfless human beings. Thank you so much.
I think one of the amazing things, so HAPS originally, the original product line was designed to create a way for independent journalists to quickly spin up real-time live content whenever they needed to. And I think that part has been sustained. Even this morning while I was, grabbing waffles for breakfast, I saw someone pop up and they were like, "Hey, we just had a power outage in the Bronx." And I apologize, I can't remember the broadcaster's name, but it was literally the person on the street saying, "Here's the power plant behind me. Here's where we're having problems. Here's the extent. We don't have an update." And it was real and it was live. And the ability to then push that out is amazing. I think the support and the HAPS team, yes, it's an evolving platform. There's some little things that, don't go as smoothly as we want every time, but their dedication to jump in, to help, to listen to feedback, to really engage with the audience and try and build out this platform. I think they've really, in a way, taken some of the best of a lot of different platforms and allowed people to use it for their best. So, Michael, you are phenomenal at having, bringing people in, having conversations, connecting that stream. I'm not as good at that. My interest is more at generating content for my website, for my YouTube channel, so that there's an archive. So people who are looking for help can say, "Oh, okay, here's the 5 things I need to know." And so for me, this is really easy because I can capture that information in a very easy format. I could then simply link it wherever I want to reuse it. So it's been very powerful to start building out that library on the shows I'm doing. Shameless plug, every Tuesday and Thursday around 5:15 p.m. Eastern time. And each show has a business or IT related topic, typically, that we're hitting. AJ's been on the show, Carmi. It's some wonderful discussions there. So the power to broadcast has been really great.
The other thing I want to address too is there's so many gifted people that have special talents that need to be shared. And if you find your tribe right on here, it's incredible. Like look at the traffic. Now, my people don't like business shows. I'm going to be honest with you, but they do enjoy me and they enjoy Hans and they're starting to love Carmi. They're unfortunately, well, we won't go there. They're defending him a lot in my other chats. But that's the wonderful thing here that I've never had anywhere else. The community backs you. And you can see, thank God the comments don't come up on the YouTube videos because they're a little zany.
I was going to say, as part of the community there, so you're talking about this is a business show, but there's toilet humor that's happening in the comments, at the same time. So you get both of those
important.
things.
You need the balance, right? You need the light and the dark, the yin, the yang.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the toilet humor, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and what is business anyway? Like it's people, and we all want to be connected to other people. So we put a business tag on it, but in reality, it's about relationships, and relationships. They run the gamut. It's a pretty wide spectrum, and so the neat thing is you have this platform. It's a very big playground. And depending on who you are and depending on what your particular background is or your professional trajectory at this moment, you have any number of ways that you can use that platform to your advantage. And so, to me, that's the cool thing. There's so much power. You see some people using HAPS for in one way, others using it to, grow their brands, others using it as a means of aggregating content and, building and aggregating and sharing content, like Hans says. So, there's no right or wrong here. And that's the beauty of it. It's just, we're at this early stage. I almost feel like what it must have been like, when Henry Ford was cranking out Model Ts. No one really knew what the deal was with this car thing, but they knew that the world was changing because of it. And they knew that it was heading in an exciting new direction. And that's kind of how I feel when I look at platforms like HAPS. Is I don't know where this is going to end up, but I see a lot of really smart people doing a lot of really cool experimentation, and that can only lead to good things going forward.
So, Carmi, here's it's part of the reason there is always a method to my madness. I know it seems like just chaos, and poor Hans, he loves structure, and what'd you say? I'm in a raft going down the river at a rapid pace, and there's rocks, and Mike's standing up and really doesn't seem to care. But for me, that works. It's the synchronicity of this community, and we really back each other here. And part of the reason I brought up HAPS today is we're getting so many questions in our personal lives, like my family members, some people from work are going, what is HAPS? And that's part of the reason I brought it up today. The other thing we haven't brought up, which people will love, right now we are streaming on 5 different platforms. So let's say you had 4 guests and they all had 5 different platforms. It's getting everywhere. So you have to be insanely careful of what you say. And thank God we don't have the comments in there.
Oh, I was going to add one more thing on that. I think that the difference between this and something like Streamyard is that you could do the same thing in Streamyard, where you would have the ability to take this content and push it out to multiple different platforms. The difference here is that you also have the broadcast side of it. So just like Carmen was saying, where you can go in and you can view other people's content, I can find that really quickly. And I can't do that with something like a Streamyard, right? Where here's a whole bunch of sessions on, whatever. Here's the scheduled session. It's almost like you're watching TV and you have the ability to take content and distribute it to the masses.
Yeah. See, I feel like anything that new is brand new always meets massive resistance, or any great idea always meets massive resistance. Like, I think when people first talked about Netflix, right? The very first, they probably went, that'll never work. People need to have something in their hand and they got to put it in their machine, and look at how much the world has evolved. But I don't think this platform would work as well as it is without all the things that are going on that we talked about earlier. And that's the synchronicities I'm talking about there, Hans. See, it seems like chaos, random. There is a method to the madness. It's not just crazy. Most.
I follow.
Where does people want to go from here? That was really important to me. And that's kind of the reason I did the show with you guys first, is there were so many questions about HAPS, and I wanted people to have those questions answered. And this is a video now I can send to people that I really like, that I think have potential, and they won't be going, well, how about this? Or how about that?
Right.
Well, what does this do? And have you talked about the ways we get paid, Hans?
No. So that was another thing that came out, was as advertisers really cut back, there was this, a huge backlash both on Facebook and on YouTube with wanting to very carefully control their media buys, their advertising spend. And what that meant was it further restricted monetization to a very, very small percentage. And it set these huge obstacles. I was listening in on a show the other night where they were talking about another platform, and they were generating money, but because they had not gotten over the 5,000 mark, they couldn't get it. So all the money was sitting there in an account, but they couldn't get it because they hadn't qualified yet.
Yes.
Now, so HAPS really turned that around and basically said, listen, like other subscriptions, you can subscribe and support people you like. Mm-hmm. You can do these little mini rewards. You don't have to spend money. You can buy coins, but if you do things and engage on the platform, you earn coins, so you can re-gift them if you don't care about the monetization or you want to say thank you. And that's that ability for the people who want that or need it, instantly monetize is helpful. I'd say the platform is also one of the safer spaces to test out and figure out, to Michael's point and to Carmi's point, what is your brand? What is your message? What is your tribe that you want to reach? and find that out. And we've seen there's been some people who have built tremendous followings because they're sharing whatever their art is, whatever's special to them. It's resonating with people. They're resonating, and they're building quite a following. Serena from, I believe it's Sweden, I think, and she just started singing, and talented, and then having conversations with people in between, and has, just in a very short time grown a loyal following with people that enjoy her show. And it's fun to sit back and listen to when you just need to kind of unplug or want something going on in the background, at least for me.
Yes, agreed. Hussein, you're here. Hussein is a person that I desperately want to have on our show in the future. My IQ always goes up when I talk to him. I love people like that. My brain starts to hurt a bit. The people that make me stretch and grow, I love those types. And I'm hoping that we will have in the future more people doing their own shows. And I'm not kidding, AJ. I don't know you very well, but I really feel that you are brandable here. You have a very grounding nature to you. You seem like a very kind individual. You've been very patient with me. And if you're on HAPS, you need those skill sets. And the other thing here on HAPS that people don't realize, if you go out of bounds way too many times, you're gone. They'll easily boot you out. And that has a lot to do with Mark. Mark will not tolerate people that are not professional. And that gives us a net to work with. And I personally have had so much coaching between my wife and Stacy that I can now somehow stay within the boundaries. I try, at least what I perceive to be the boundary at the time. Carmi tries, he talks to me and it's just like, oh my God, forget it. But
is it kind of like bumper bowling, right? You just kind of...
Yeah, or the boy in the bubble, like one of those, whatever. If you're old enough, you know what that one is. That was one of, I think it was John Travolta, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So let's go somewhere else. We've done the Hans thing. We've kind of, the other way that we haven't mentioned, and I'm starting to get things, and this is another shameless plug, is you can get product placements. Can you hear the dog out there going crazy?
A little bit.
That's the neighbor's
Hello, puppy.
Placement too.
Yeah, that's not my dog. That's no. But so I've been promoting cameras and microphones, and I'm now going to be getting some free samples, and hopefully in the long term, I will be able to make a little bit of money off of that. So I am a person who really enjoys having coin in my pocket, and I also love connection. So imagine you had, and I think I've talked to Carmi about this, is that imagine you had 10 avenues that you made $500 a month off of. That's a good life. You can buy some of that really inexpensive pop that Hans is drinking right now. So, but that's the thing. Long term, we could have merch, right? We could have sayings on shirts. We could have different brands come in. You could have, if you want to go super, super strict and do a business thing, then you can have some of the big players sponsor you. But then you're also not having the spontaneity and maybe not the fun anymore. So you have to kind of figure out your own boundaries.
So when you're ready for a new logo for the Spiritual Capitalist, your new Michael Bathurst show, I will I'll whip one up for you.
And I will wear the T-shirt with pride.
Well, you can get these T-shirts at Teespring, only $24.99, and remember, 80% goes to sponsor great content like this show.
So we're almost done. AJ, we didn't really, I'm sorry. Do you have something you want to discuss, chew on for like 5 minutes?
Well, so I'm going to do a shameless plug as well, I guess. So
Yes.
I'm actually working with a group called the Power Platform School, and it is a school. It's a series of volunteers that work all within the Microsoft community. And what they do is they are focused on bringing people of color into IT. So people that are underrepresented in IT, teach them skills so that way they get a chance to, at the end of the 8-week session, apply for jobs and move into either consulting or so on. So the site's called powerplatformschool.com. You should check it out if you get a chance. But if you have anybody that you are interested in and said, hey, this would be a good opportunity, go ahead and fill out one of the application forms and we'll get you started. This session's filled up, but it starts tomorrow for those in the UK and the US, and that's where it's currently set up. But that is something that, we talk about, Hans, you're talking about giving back and being able to do something different and provide content, provide an archive. That for me has been something that has been a challenge in a technical sense, but also rewarding just in knowing that, you're actually trying to bring about social change. So that's been something that is super rewarding. So perfect. Thank you.
Thank you for the award. Thank you for the award, Ryan. I do appreciate that. So, what do we usually do at the end, Carmi? Do you know? You've been through this a few times.
Yeah.
Where do I usually?
We say a little bit about what we're thankful for.
Yes, the gratitude time.
Yeah.
More feelings. Okay.
and why? Well, who wants to lead us off?
Yes, you can, Hans. Go ahead.
All right. Yep. No. Yes. The jokes of feelings aside, and my cold heart. So I would say, so this week I've been really thankful with some of the teammates I work with. They have done an outstanding job overcoming some very difficult challenges and figuring out how to get things done, sometimes with severe constraints or ridiculous requests. And so just being able to work with and help some of the people has been just amazing. And I'm really proud of the work they're doing and what came. We just hit the end of a research cycle, which is always hard, and figuring out what is that final thing that you're going to put out there in public until the next time you can update it. And it may never get updated. What is that going to be? Because it represents who you are and what you believe in. And they've really done a great job of bringing it over the finish line. So I'm really proud of them.
Well said. Okay, Carmi, keep it short because I've got another. By the way, I've got another show back to back today. So we've got 3 other guests coming up, and we never know what direction we're going in. But you know what? It always ends up pretty good. Go ahead, Carmi.
Mine is very simple. I'm just thankful that I'm healthy because I think we're all getting news of people we know and people we don't who are not, and I get to wake up every morning, do what I do it well, do it surrounded by people who both teach me and inspire me, and then I get to keep on. And I think my dad always taught me, always keep your eye out for those who don't have what you have, and appreciate what you do, and ask yourself what you can do to help them. The fact that I'm in a position to ask that question and to offer that assistance to me is an absolute blessing. And so just be thankful that we've got this, that we're here at this point in time, and that we can help others, and that we don't need the help of others in order to keep moving things ahead.
Okay, AJ.
Yeah, so I think if I had to be thankful for one thing, it's just been this week, it's been mentorship. So this week has been an outpouring of people in my network that have been just inspiring and pushing me and encouraging me to grow in different areas. So that has been a huge kind of influx and boost, I think, to my personal mental health, but also just from a career aspect, it's been rewarding that way. So it's encouraging and insightful, and I think everybody that's been able to do that and been a part of that.
Okay, I'm just going to make this brief. Everybody, thank you for being here. From the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate you, and I love the community that we've built here. And AJ, I feel like I have a new friend. So thank you so much. And please join us on the next one. It will be more business. In business, it will be. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.